So we continue with our tutorial game as Baron, and if you remember, no, we are in late summer, and in early summer we received some conscriptions which our Baron has not yet gathered up because he's still busy here and was on his way back down from conquering this ancient forest. And I now figured out which units, which squares gave which units. So we got 3 knights and 4, 7, 12 spearmen and 1 unicorn knight. The unicorn knight was from owning the ancient forest. Each farm gives 2 spearmen, so we had, I think this farm we conquered after the beginning of summer. So this did not give anything, and we don't know whether this tent village gave us something, but we have 2 spearmen, 2 spearmen, 2 spearmen, 2 spearmen, so 8 spearmen. And this hamlet gave 1 knight, and this market village gave 1 knight and 2 spearmen, and this moat and bailey gave also 1 knight and 2 spearmen, for a total of 12 spearmen and 3 knights. So you see, first of all, that by conquering this rather undefended squares, I mean, if you remember, these farms did not have any defense, this didn't have any defense, and here there were only 1 bandit and 2 slingers, which were easily defeated by our levies, or which could also have been defeated by our guys here, our high lord and the 3 cavalrymen. And only from this easy conquering we got lots of units worth, well, in terms of gold, the conscription we got is worth maybe around 200 to 250 gold. So conscription is really, really good. And also upgrading the hamlet with the special power race fort to the moat and bailey is very good, because it costs 50 gold, and next beginning of summer it already brings 2 spearmen, so it's actually getting 20 gold back within 1 year. And also it increases the income, effectively increases the income to 3 gold, and it gets defenses, so it's really, really worth your money. And but in this turn our Baron cannot do it because he does not have any movement points, action points left. So you see, if I would try to raise fort, no action points left, so we have to wait for next turn. Yeah, it was the end of turn, and we had this gold mine here. Remember, this is just too much for the moment, and the gold mine is worth a lot of money, a lot of income. We have a look at these units. These are pale ones, and as you can see, pale 1 soldier, 10 hit points, 1 armor and a shield. So it's it has strength 5 and magic resistance also 5, so it's quite a bit more resistant than a spearman. It has probably is twice as tough, and also it seems to deal a bit more damage, 1 to 5 instead of 1 to 4. Also interesting, it's amphibian. That's not relevant for these defenders because they will stay there until they are killed. So it looks like a quite strong unit, and actually it is a strong unit, but here there's an ability bad side, misses 1/5 of all attacks. So maybe in damage dealing it's about equal to the spearman. It deals 1 to 5 damage but misses 20% of attacks. That's maybe as good as dealing 1 to 4 damage, but it has about twice as many hit points, so it's maybe 1.5 spearmen or so. And you can see there are about maybe 20 or 40 of these pale 1 soldiers. I just look if there are other. No, only pale 1 soldiers, this one. And then in the back we have also, wait, these are also pale 1 soldiers. We have just pale ones, which also have 10 hit points, magic resistance 5 and strength 5, no armor, also bad side, shield, and they have throw rock with 1 to 2 damage and only range 2. So while these are many units, they don't have many ranged capabilities, so usually only the front rank will deal the main damage. But that will still be a lot because it's 20 units or so in the front rank, and they can all deal some damage. So in attacking we should consider to have let's say at minimum something like 60, 70 or 80 units, maybe better 100 units. Also, what is not shown with these pale ones is that their gods are not wise, because it is not shown here, but they didn't give them spare eyes. So they only have one eye, and if they lose one eye, they are immediately blind. So for these guys, these battle afflictions are a bit more problematic because they get blind rather fast. And yes, by the way, there's a class pale one where of course you can use these soldiers, or you can only recruit this guy. So yeah, but so we cannot conquer this gold mine and we have to leave it in place. Now, next turn, the autumn is here. Remember, the snow line now has moved south. We can hire a High Lord, which we do not need. And you see the snow line is, it's a bit more south. Just gets this. Oh, yeah, well, there's a new unit. Here, this is the group we already saw some 3-4 turns ago. 2 bears and 7 deers, and we should try to kill them. But first here, our Baron wanted to raise a fort, which cost him 6 movement points, so he will also not be able to do something in the next turn. So 6 movement points gone. You see what I talked about last turn? Here the frozen river. Now it's frozen. When the next summer starts, I think this will be unfrozen again. So, and then units standing on it will drown. Actually, a lot of these wandering or snake units drown because they are stupid, always move one turn, move rather randomly, and they often end up on these places and drown then. So another unit appeared, which we should always look if there are any units interesting. These troops, maybe they conquer here something, but here we have something in Manticore, which we take a look at. And as you see, it's a large unit, 3 times 3 squares. It also has here specifically noted giant-sized. As you see, this has some movement bonus in rough terrain, so usually the cost of entering a square is reduced by 1, but down to a minimum of 1 action point. So such a unit, if it's controlled by a human or computer player, and if it's an army only made of such unit, can for example move through this forest only at the cost of 1 action point, and through mountains at the cost of 2 action points, and so on. But as it's such a wandering snakes unit, it only moves 1 square. But we have to look at its stats, and we already see this is tough thing. 125 hit points, magic resistance 7, strength, moral, armor 2. And here we see, well, local leadership doesn't matter much because it has no friendly units with it. It's flying. That means, okay, it would always only use 1 action point, but it also means that in battle it closes rather fast. It should probably move 3 spaces per round of battle, but also it causes fear, which means all neighboring units must make a moral check each round or flee. And even if they succeed this check, they get an attack penalty in combat. And those that flee, they are lost if our side loses the battle. So attacking this guy with melee units, which have a low moral, is actually suicide, because most of them will just flee and run away. So when we attack this now, this is an enemy against which our ability of our Baron could be useful, because he gives the entire army a moral bonus of 2, and that would be very important, because you see, usually, I know, Spearman, he had only moral 5 just a moment later, and now it has 7, and that would be better. But even if they don't flee, this unit, of course, it has 125 hit points, and it has here several attacks. It has 1 ranged attack, which is not that evil, but it's still strong, of course, a lot stronger than our longbows. And it has here a claw attack, and here a stinger attack, and you see here attack with an additional effect. Extra effect if target is affected. That means that if this attack connects, and for that attack to connect, I think it has to deal damage, so it must not be stopped by the armor, then it again gets 1 to 20 poison damage, armor negating. And of course you see if one of our units with just 6 or 10 hit points, it will often get killed by that, and if not killed by that, it will be killed by that. So we can expect that this, and here 1 to 18, we can expect that this unit will kill in melee, which it easy gets into because it's flying. It will kill, well, maybe 1 or 2 units per round, maybe make 1 or 2 units per round flee, and for getting 125 hit points, well, it depends on with how many units we attack, and especially with how many ranged attacks we have, but we will have a hard time to deal, let's say, 30 damage per turn. So our current army with just 6 longbowmen and 6 spearmen could at most deal something like 20 damage per turn. So we need 6 turns of full damage to kill it, but we just know that in each turn of combat we'll probably lose 4 units, so we are guaranteed to lose against this unit without a larger army. Of course, what's also bad, that unit might next turn move into our market village, and these 6 levies, they don't stand any chance against it. See, they have moral 3, and I think this moral check is a 1 to 8 roll, so they have some 50% chance, or maybe even higher, that they cannot even fight in melee. And then there are only these slingers, which cannot deal any damage against 125 hit points and armor 2. So probably this unit, it could take something from us, and at the moment we have not much to stop it. Maybe if we get this entire army here down there, maybe then we have to recalculate and estimate whether we can fight it, but for the moment we just have to hope that this Manticore ignores us and goes back down south and hopefully bothers other people. Now, didn't we have any recruits? Only a High Lord at 52 gold, so slightly cheaper. I think they can be beneath 50 gold, but currently we don't need a High Lord. Now let's see, this Baron cannot do anything, but here, our High Lord. So I will move the High Lord here because on the plane he can move very far. It costs only 1 movement point, and I want to scout a lot and hopefully find before the next summer something easy to conquer to give us extra spearmen. This is a guard tower. Now the difference to the watchtower is, as you see, that it is a recruitment site. It not only has a not only has a fortification and siege combat happens there, and it has this Illuminati symbol for better for 2 points of vision range. It only there one can recruit units, but it doesn't give any gold. So now we look at the defenses. 3 crossbowmen. Crossbowman is at the moment, I will explain shortly, but it's again wooden gates, so it does not look nice. Crossbowman, as you see, crossbow has also initiative 2, just as longbow and as normal bow, range 5, and it has 1 to 5 damage. You might for the moment think that it's better than longbow, but there is something only usable once every 2 rounds. So when you fight these crossbowmen, they will first fire a shot, and then in the next row they will take the action of reloading crossbow. So they fire every second turn. It's a bit of the question whether bows are better or crossbows are better, because if you remember, bows do 1 to 3 damage and fire every turn. This crossbow fires every second turn and does 1 to 5 damage. As a basic rule, of course, this is better against heavy armored targets, while against unarmored targets with low hit points, for example goblins, bows are better. Longbows I think are better than both because they fire every round for 1 to 4 damage and have range 6. But it doesn't matter, this again is a bit too much defense for our 4 guys here. So we just continue our move. What we have there, a coal mine, but 8 units here. Now we have, these are dwarves, and these are not just dwarves workers. Again we look. This is a standard dwarf, only 5 hit points, good magic resistance, and armor 2 with a shield. So this guy is a lot more resistant than spearmen, maybe 50% effective more hit points. And it has an axe dealing 1 to 7 damage. Not a good initiative weapon, but dealing quite some damage, more than a sword. So I would say this is maybe 50% better than a single spearman. So we have 1, 2, 3. No, this is a dwarf warrior. We have to look at them. A dwarf. We have 4 dwarfs, and they are good as 5 or 6 spearmen. Now here we have dwarf warriors. They have 6 hit points, armor 2, no shield, and a battle axe, which does 1 more damage than the normal axe. So I would say they are about equal as you remember halberdiers. Halberdiers had 6 hit points also, but had only armor 1, so they are better than halberdiers, and yeah, maybe they are about as good as dwarfs. So again, here this is equivalent of 3 spearmen, and now we have dwarf arbalests. You see range 7, 1 to 10 damage. Now if they would fire every turn, they would be quite awesome, but we read usable once every 3 turns, every 3 rounds. So this is a very slow crossbow, but you see 1 to 10 damage every 3 turn is probably more damage output than bows, and it's very good against heavy armor. So they would be very good to take out our knights and punch through their armor, and also they have themselves 1 armor. So these guys are probably, they are of course stronger than bowmen or crossbowmen, and well, they are more, I think they are about as good as our longbowmen. Our longbowmen shoot more often, but these guys have some armor, and you see some fire and cold resistance. So yeah, we have here something which is the equivalent of 9 spearmen and 2 longbowmen. So they will probably kill and slaughter our 4 guys if we attack, so we just ignore them and continue our movement here. There's a lake, not frozen. Finally, some unfrozen lake. Now we can turn. Let's see. Nothing to do. No. Let's see if no, the manticore went away. Great. And these guys still roam around there without taking ancient forest, which is nice. We move. Oh no. Wait, yeah, you always have to look which commander you have selected. I thought the moment wanted him to move here, but so now I right click here. He still is has lost his movement points due to upgrading, so this takes still some time. And yeah, our High Lord continues to move. Fairy circle, it's useless for us. Oh, what is there? Gallows. Let's take a closer look. You see there's hanging someone. This is good for necromancers, but we aren't a necromancer, so we continue our move. This is good. A village. Might be as good as this market village up there, but this is much. 2, 4, 6, 8 spearmen and 1 cap. But we have to remember, this spearman, oh no, this is swordsman. I have to take care. They deal more damage, but have a later attack with their broadsword. So 1 to 6 damage. How many spearmen are there? 2 broadswords. If you look closely, you can see it. It actually are all broadswords. Now, if there had been 8 spearmen, I would have considered attacking, because spearmen with their 1 to 4 damage, we might have had a chance due to our good armor, and this is a worthy prize to capture before next summer, but I think it's too strong with 8 swordsmen. It's a bit difficult. I mean, if our lance charge is good, it could kill 2 or 3 in the first round of combat before they strike, but I think we will still lose too much, and we will look for some target with less defense. Now our Baron cannot move, and I just turn. Nothing happened over there. So here we have some activities. We lost our ancient forest. Probably this group moved downwards and conquered it. So we have to retake it, otherwise the spawning happens again. A lot of spawning. Now here we have Slinger and Bandits. What I didn't say about Slinger and Bandits, these units are rather aggressive. You saw those boars are constantly moving here around without taking some units, and these guys also moved quite some time around before they moved into the ancient forest, but these are rather aggressive. They often move into civilized areas like farms and villages and so on. If you remember here, even there were some bandits and slingers which just attacked this superior force and lost. So I think there's some chance we will lose this farm, but there's not much we can do about it. And 3 levies, yeah, maybe they can stop them. So it's an equal fight. Maybe their bandits are a bit stronger because they have the bow and can fire extra shots while the unit's still close in battle. So if they move down here, we might even lose the tent village. But nothing we can do about. So we didn't lose anything taking these, so it's not too sad that we might be losing them. We will retake them then. Now transfer units, all. Now you see our front rank is completely filled with melee units, and here already 2 melee units or front rank units spill over into the second row, and behind are the mid-ranked units. With that many melee units, it's reasonable. We have enough money to recruit. It's reasonable to consider recruiting ranged units because additional, sorry, here we don't see it because we are ranged here in the, but if we if I get in the transfer screen, there we can again study our battle formation. You would see if we add here additional spearmen or whatever, they will not contribute that much to the battle until these units are killed. Therefore, maybe adding ranged units would be better. This is often the case because this conscription that happens every early summer each year, as far as I know, produces mostly or only melee and front rank units. So usually you should spend more money as Baron on ranged units. Now if we look at ranged units, we have, let me see, we have crossbowmen, which cost 5 iron, which wouldn't be a problem. You saw them before, firing every second round, 1 to 5 damage. Then we don't have bowmen, okay, because we have longbowmen. As you see, longbowmen, we only get 4 for the price of 50 gold, while we get 5 crossbowmen for 50 gold and 5 iron. So 1 crossbowman is 10 gold and 1 iron, while 1 longbowman is 12.5 gold. So longbowmen are a bit more expensive, but I think they are really good because there's additional range. Other ranged units, this would also be an option. Piccaninnies, they are front miners, which would mean that if we buy them, they all would be arranged here. They would be arranged behind the last front rank units, but not in the row behind, but in the same row, or spilling over if there are too many. By the way, I think I said it, but I repeat it. The arrangement is always that the highest hit point units get in the mid. Therefore, here's a unicorn knight and a knight, and here a knight and here a knight, and then only the spearman, and this spearman with the battle affliction and therefore reduced hit points, you see 20% lower hit points, is of course behind. And here it's also with the mid ranks, therefore our baron is here in the middle of the mid ranks because he has most hit points. So again, looking at those units, so these piccaninnies are interesting because here there's a range 2 attack, but it's still a melee weapon. You don't see it listed here, but you have to know it. And it deals 1 to 5 points of damage. Here, speciality long. This attack can also be used from the second rank, which means that if here is standing a piccaninny, he can attack these squares. So piccaninnies in this rank are actually, in this row, are actually quite good.